We had some poems that told a story. Now let's move on to our Once Upon a Time prose pieces. You've read about pretty princesses who fall in love but now. We've studied the tales of Grimm brothers, and we've rewritten classic fairy tales but added an eccentric twist. Get ready to watch those cute fairy tales that you loved as children get twisted.
I was there when she was born, when the two fairies gave her the gifts of song and beauty, when Maleficent put a horrid curse on her. Before the sun sets on the evening of her 16th birthday, she shall prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and die. The king feared very much for his beloved daughter. He had every spindle in the kingdom burned, every one except for me. Maleficent smuggled me out as soon as the king had made his announcement. It was also because of her desire to have other evil forces surround her, she gave me a magical life force of my own. I could move. Although I will tell you, Maleficent was not always completely successful with her wickedness, as I am not all evil. When I first laid eyes on Aurora, I knew she would do great things. I did not want to kill her, but that's what I was destined to do. The bad guy. That's who I was, who I will always be. I will now read the ending of my fairy tale. Another year passed, and when Aurora's 16th birthday was nearing, I grew worried. I was dreading that day, I was dreading that night. I was dreading the feeling I would have when Aurora's hand reached out to touch me. I was dreading the look of her dead. Aurora's birthday was only a week away. Maleficent was happier than ever, and to top it all off, I would be a murderer. If I can only escape Maleficent's spell, if I can only be free, if I can only save her. I knew that I wouldn't be able to do any of these things. Even though I was given the gift of movement, I am still only a carved block of wood. I am only an empty shell with no powers. I am nothing special. Aurora's birthday was 5 days away, 4 days away, 3 days away, 2 days away, 1 day away. Her birthday is today. That's all I could think about. Nothing else seemed important to me. Nothing else, nothing else, nothing else. The sun is about to rise. I have 12 hours. I would enjoy them, but I am just too sorrowful. It is midday. I have 6 hours. I would enjoy them, but I am just too worried. The sun is about to set. The sun is now gone. Nothing seemed to happen. Everything might be all right. No, at that very moment when I thought everything would be okay, I saw her. I saw Aurora. She was walking right toward me in a trance, hand outstretched. I had so little time to think. I understand now why people say time is precious. It didn't seem that way to me before. Before, I had so much time. Now I don't have any. All I see now is Aurora, hand outstretched, not knowing she is about to die. In a split second, I felt her fingertip touch me. Then she fell, onto the hard ground, into death's hands, taken away from the world forever. I saw her face, a glazed look frozen onto it. Now, what used to be a vital young girl was now just an empty shell. Her soul was like a bug who had just shed its beautiful skin. I would never hear her lovely voice again, never see her beautiful face again. I was the only one to blame. Well, Maleficent and I. I don't know how I will carry on. She is dead. If there had only been 3 fairies giving her gifts instead of 2.
Long, long ago, there was a beautiful widow who lived in a nice cabin over the woods that are across from the king's castle. The widow was nice, though not one person talked to her. She never knew why. Maybe it was because she lived so far away from most people, or the horrible smells that came from her house. She couldn't help that she wasn't a good cook, or maybe it was because she often wore black and other dark and grim shades. But she couldn't help that, though. She loved the dark colors. No matter how hard she tried, no one could see her true beauty. One day, the very handsome king's wife passed away, leaving the king and his beautiful daughter Snow with no mother or wife in their lives. The king grew depressed to the point where he locked himself in his room all day. On the better days, he might read a book. On bad days, he might stare at deceased pictures of his wife. But on even worse days, all he might do is sit there lonely and depressed. For Snow, things were different. Though she often thought about her mother and how they loved each other, Snow decided she didn't want to live grim and lonely life, though she wanted to have fun and enjoy it. Snow usually played with her dolls and picked flowers from the beautiful plants in the palace gardens. All in the same time, the beautiful widow had kept on with her usual standards and lived as she always would. One day, one of the king's servants was worried about the king and brought him up with the idea of marrying a new woman to become queen. At first, the king was raged, even though the thought of remarrying made him sick. So at once the king sent the servants to the dungeons where he was to be deceased. A year after that, Snow was still playing. The widow was still following her standards. Though the king had since changed his mind about remarrying and told his servants to send every girl over the age of 20 into the town to come see him, and he would decide after this, he saw every girl in the town which one he would marry. Snow was not angry about this at all. She wanted a mother again so badly. The widow was excited to see the king, for she admired him for a long time. She also wanted a husband again because her husband was deceased years ago. On the special day, the beautiful widow woke up early, expecting only to meet the king by the end of the day. She had had no hopes of marrying him. She put on a beautiful dress, and that for once was not dark, and then she put on jewelry for the first time, and which felt like forever. Soon enough, the town bells had rang. The town bells were a sign that something big is going to happen, and once the bell vibrated, the beautiful widow had set off to the king's palace.
Okay, so we're doing like a remake of the Tale of Three Brothers, which is in Harry Potter, called The Lively Hollows. So let's get started with our show.
Once upon a time, there were three triplets. One day, they went on a walk and found a huge staircase. And then they met Life. They climbed the staircase. And then they met Life. Life was so happy to meet them, they granted each one of them one wish.
I, the first brother, wanted to be immortal, so Life gave me the pill of immortality. But when I tried to take it, I choked on it and died.
I, the second brother, I wanted all the money in the world. So Life gave me all the money in the world. But all the companies and businesses went bankrupt, and I was forever lonely.
I, the third brother, wanted all the knowledge in the world. So Life granted me the pie charm. Once I got all the knowledge in the world, the police suspected something. They threw me in jail and never fed me again. I starved to death.
I, the second brother, was the only one who could live to tell the tale. And Life took all three objects and joined them together to create the Lively Hollows. And I'll tell you that you should never take things for granted and always appreciate what you have.
I'm going to read the ending of my fairy tale story. We got out of the car where Prince Charming told us Beast would be. We crept around the back only to find Beast chained up. I looked at my mom and smiled. There was a chainsaw right next to me. I grabbed it and slowly walked toward him. I dragged the chainsaw behind me to make a long, high-pitched scraping sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, I counted as I got closer. 7, 8, 9, 10. I was about to turn it on. 13, 14, 15. I was standing before him. I started the chainsaw, but Beast lifted his foot and gave it a kick. The chainsaw backfired on me and sliced off one of my hands. While I was screaming in agony, my mom came running. She grabbed the chainsaw, but the same happened to her. Beast broke the chain and pounded me and my mom to a flat face, and then he took off dashing and lived happily ever after. Thank you.
I'm going to read my fairy tale, The Fantasy Games. In a faraway place where humans will never be able to go, all the edible animals you've ever read about will be taken apart in my games called the Hunger Games. This is where the fairy tale animals will fight for their life by eating each other, and the victor will be in 1,000 more fairy tales. The three little pigs heard about this event and were hatching up a plan. The first little piglet said, "Let's have an alliance till the end, and then we will eat each other, and then no one will win." The second one said, "No, we should go to separate ways, and then eat all the enemies, and cross paths we shall fight, scratch, and bite." And then the third one said, "We should both do both ideas and split up, but still be an alliance." And then they both they said shut up to the third one and started a brawl. After 21 first minutes, the brawl had ended, and then the first pig had broken a knee, and the blah, blah, blah. The next day, the Hunger Games, the favorite people would win with 3 little pigs, the gingerbread man, and the Humpty Dumpty. They all lined up on the edges of the countdown and began. 3, 2, 1, go. The gingerbread man ran yelling, "You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man." Bob the bacon, hiding in the bush, and started to nibble himself. Then he started taking bigger bites of himself until he devoured himself, leaving only crumbs in his shoes. "Someone has been eaten," yelled a mysterious voice from the sky, and they all heard as a boom from the echo, and they slowly faded until the echo died in the sound of them breathing. The three little pigs decided to stay together, which was a huge mistake. They made a totem pole of me, and they summoned me to help them, and what they didn't know was I was hungry. I roasted them and cooked them and ate everyone, and I won. The end.
Before we continue to our next part, I want to remind all of you that these were based off of Grimm fairy tales, so they are supposed to be a little dark. Thank you.